Jumpa News Channel BNC, where it's all about you. We have our special guest in the studio, as we mentioned before we went on a break. Faridah Hameed joins us to talk about celebrate the wins, own the failures. We're skewing this because March 8th, which is on Friday, 2 days from now, is International Women's Day, which is celebrated around the world. And this year's theme, Jessie, is balance for better. Hashtag. Balance for better. The theme is premised on the fact that gender balance is not just a women's issue. It is a socio-economic issue that cuts across so many layers of society.
Absolutely. You said it rightly, Elaine. Today, we of course have our regular leadership and communication coach, Faridah Hameed, who will share with us some of the wins she is celebrating for women this year, as well as she'll be taking on some of the failures that women need to own for not supporting other women. That's, I think, a huge conversation that needs to be held as well. She will also be sharing with us her own sub-theme for the International Women's Day, which is hashtag celebrate, where we want to acknowledge and, of course, celebrate the men who celebrate women. Welcome, Faridah.
Hi, girls. It's great to be here to be talking about International Women's Day.
And it's so key. It's about balance, and it's not one-sided. You know, they always say, you know, clapping your hands, it takes two. It takes two to tango.
It's the yin and yang.
It takes two for all of this.
Absolutely.
And when we live here on a planet, we cannot live in isolation. We're interconnected, like it or not, but we're constantly fighting.
I think that's what we see on the news, but I think in reality, no. I think a lot of people do work together.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the wins that you say you'd like to celebrate.
Okay. Well, I think the theme, Balance for Better, is a good theme because it's a macro theme. It's the big picture. As you said, Elaine, earlier, we are the yin and yang. Yeah, we cannot have one without the other. And what I personally have seen, I think, over the last couple of years, and I'm sure you have seen it too, is that we have seen a more feminine energy, a more assertive feminine energy that has come to the fore. We see it in more women coming to power in governments everywhere. We see it
for the first time. We have a deputy prime minister.
Yeah, we have a deputy prime minister who's in this country who's female. I think in the US, all over the world, we are seeing more and more women rise to more senior decision-making positions in governments as well as in companies. So I think those things are important. I mean, we are also seeing continual improvement in more girls going to school, more girls graduating from university, and so all those things are things that we must celebrate because sometimes it's easy to take it for granted, you know, because we think for us it's a normal, right? But for so many people around the world, even going to school is such a hard thing.
There's such a disparity that we don't see because when we look out our windows and we drive out every day, we have the ability to drive. And some don't even have that.
Yes,
so
and we can go out at night and we can hang out with our friends, and so many girls and women around the world don't have that opportunity. And education is central to that. And so many young girls, you know, like in India, I think there's a movement about the menstruation because a lot of girls don't go to school when they're having their period. Right? Because there isn't enough facilities, toilet facilities in the school. So I think we do tend to take it for granted because we live in a country where all these things we don't really have a problem. But the macro theme is something I think we just need to sit back and take a moment, and maybe we need to Google and read about the stories of so many women and girls around the world who don't have the opportunities that we have here in Malaysia.
So these wins are key for us to be grateful for, to be thankful for. You know, there's gratitude. Gratitude is one of the things that helps us move forward, because if we don't recognize, as you mentioned, all these liberties that we have gained over the many centuries, not days, not decades, centuries.
It's been a long fight.
No, which is why I think while we celebrate a lot of the women today who have achieved a lot of things, I think history plays a very big role, because I would like to share a few of the women that I think are really important. Unfortunately, a lot of them are Western because the media tends to promote Western women, but I'll just share some of them. You've seen the movie Hidden Figures, I'm sure.
Yes, that's
That was one of my favorite movies. And the three women there were Katherine Johnson, Mary Jackson, and Dorothy Vaughan were the first African-American women who helped NASA put the astronaut in space, John Glenn. There's also another one, a lady called Evelyn Berezan. We've never heard of her name, I think. I came across her story a couple of weeks ago. She was the one who built the world's first real word processor.
Wow.
Yeah. And also another lady called Grace Roman, Nancy Grace Roman, who was the mother of the Hubble observatory. And this was the time before Google, before email. And what was so amazing about her achievements is that she got astronomers together, she organized them, and they lobbied Congress to build the Hubble Space Telescope. Do we hear about these women? No, because when we talk about astronomy and we talk about space and we talk about science, science tends to be written from a male perspective. And what I celebrate is a lot of these stories are coming out. Far back in history, the famous story of Noor Jahan. We think of her as the love of the life of the emperor. But she actually ruled alongside him, and she helped him make day-to-day decisions, right? One of the things that I feel in Malaysia that we lack is that when we talk about Merdeka, when we talk about the story of Merdeka, we never hear about the women behind the men. And no one has actually written anything about all the women who supported Tunku Rahman, Tun Sambandan, all these historical figures. And they could not have done it without the women. So why are the women's stories not being told? So I think, yes, there's a lot to celebrate. We have to know where we come from. We have to know every woman who paved the way for all of us here today to become what we are and to have all the opportunities that we have. So I think that's really important. And so we need to, while we are celebrating these wins, I think we must remember that we stand on the shoulders of the amazing women who never had our opportunities, who have come before us.
That's right.
If I may say, in terms of you were saying that why is it that these stories never get told? And one of it you said is it's been a long fight, and hence I asked earlier, why is it still a fight? Why is it a fight? Because it's meant to be a journey. We're in this together, and we are #better together. We are better together. And why the stories may possibly not have been told? Because we as women have always, well, in a good way, taken it as something that is a necessity. That's our job. That's us. We support. We will give. It is never something to recognize me because I'm giving, I'm supporting. It is my role. I take it on as a woman. You take it on. So you don't expect to be written for taking it on, or being written for being a mother.
Narrative, you know? I speak to so many women today, and when I do my coaching and training, and it always comes back to this. A lot of them still see themselves as the nurturer, in the supporting role, as you said, because that comes naturally. But when you ask them about why they don't speak about their achievements, they're very uncomfortable talking about it. But I think we have to remember that if we don't tell these stories, the girls, the young women and the girls who come after us will not know these stories, and they need to know these stories.
Because they need to know how far and how much progress we've made, and how far we can go. And once they get empowered, then that journey, as you say, then becomes, well, not a walk in the park, but then it becomes a lot more enjoyable, breathable walk rather than it being a fight.
But you've nailed it on the head. It's about the stories that are told, because how are we relating the stories, and it's how it's crafted, how it's perceived, how it's interpreted, and now we think of this story as male skewed, but it was never it to begin with.
Well, I think, to be fair, I don't think anybody started out thinking we're going to skew it to men, to be fair. But I think we have to look at history books and we have to have more stories of women who have achieved things, and children in school should be taught about these women who have achieved these things. There should be a balance. I'm all for balance. I think it's a great thing, but history cannot be told only from one perspective.
I think we only remember the Joan of Arcs of the day.
Yeah, but because that's a Western narrative. And when it comes to the Asian narrative, there are so few stories that are out there in the public domain.
Unsung sheroes. That's the word I learned. Shero, not a hero, but a shero. But what could have been perhaps then the failures? What can we learn from some of the failures?
I think we've got to quickly go through the failures so that we can also talk about the men who celebrate the women.
So the failures is there's 7 billion of us on the planet, right? About 50%, give or take, are women, right? A lot of the major issues that we are seeing in the world today, child marriages, honor killings, rape, domestic violence, sexual harassment, not enough opportunities to move up the career ladder. Women are complicit in all of this, either implicitly or explicitly. Agreed. So implicitly by not speaking up, by not asking for those opportunities, and explicitly by blocking other women, by judging other women, speaking bad about other women. So I think if you're talking about that this is a fight or that women need to be empowered, I think women have power. I actually have an issue with the word empowered. I think women already have power. I think they just have to own it, right? So when it comes to women, women fail themselves and they fail other women. So this has always been one of the things that I've always spoken about. I think the other thing is that we need to move away from this label about something being a woman's issue. It is a human issue, right? Because anything that is good for women is good for everybody, right? So we've spoken about this before, so I won't go into a lot of details, but things like even maternity leave, better pay, and those kinds of things. And finally, I would say the third issue that I think we are still failing at is, I think when you look at organizations as a whole, I think when International Women's Day comes around, everybody has got events and everybody's like rah-rah, you know,
they're all singing that tune,
celebrating that. But a lot of it is lip service, because when you dig a little bit deeper, the structural issues within organizations to allow women to move up, to allow women to be at their best, are not in place. Because I give you an example: sexual harassment. If a woman goes to her HR person and says, "I've been sexually harassed," let's say the HR person is a woman. How far will she go to bring this up? Because she herself is affected by the fact that she's paid by the company. Is she going to pursue? How much is she going to pursue?
Again, it's the issue of the silencing and the complicit, or essentially probably encouraging you not to make a report.
So
that's
so that
too much trouble. Don't do it. You'll get your boss in trouble. So, colleagues will say this, and that.
So women have to own this, and we have to decide individually how we are going to make a difference.
We have about a minute. Yes. Perhaps you wanted to talk about the celebrating the men.
Yes. So I want to talk about two men who have made me the woman I am today. The first is my grandfather. He was a man before his time. He had 9 children, 5 of which were girls. And while his relatives said, you know, don't educate the daughters, just get them married off, he said, no, I will educate all my daughters. So all my mom and my aunts were all educated as far as he could educate them.
Thank you, grandfather.
Right? And then my dad, who that's my grandfather. You'll see him sitting there.
Wonderful.
And then my dad, who unfortunately passed away in March last year, had the same issue. He was told by his relatives that why educate the daughters? Don't need to send them to university. Within his community, right? So, and he said, no, I will educate my daughters as much as I educate my sons. And so, again, I stand on both their shoulders, because without the men, men hold many positions of power. Without them, we are not going to be able to achieve what we're going to achieve. So I really thank my grandfather and my father for making me who I am today, or at least for playing a large part.
Thank you, Faridah. And that wraps up this session, and we close off with hashtag balance for better. There you go. Thank you so much for staying with us to the end of the show. And that wraps up Bernama today. Bye for now.
Ni Raza. Kenapa dia sedih sangat? Macam ni. Semalam dia dapat satu mesej. Mesej tu kata dia dah menang duit yang banyak. Untuk tebus hadiah tu, Raza kena pindahkan sejumlah duit dulu melalui link yang terdapat dalam mesej tu. Seronok betul, Raza. Sampai tak sedar.
No, I will educate my daughters as much as I educate my sons. And so, again, I stand on both their shoulders, because without the men, men hold many positions of power. Without them, we are not going to be able to achieve what we're going to achieve. So I really thank my grandfather and my father for making me who I am today, or at least for playing a large part.
Thank you, Faridah. And that wraps up this session, and we close off with hashtag balance for better. There you go. Thank you so much for staying with us to the end of the show. And that wraps up Bernama today. Bye for now.